Welcome to the Existential Empath Podcast. My name is Tanya, and I am an intuitive empath. My intention is to share valuable tools and techniques that I have learned so you can tap into your own inner healer naturally and intuitively.
Welcome back, everyone. I hope you are all doing awesome today or evening, wherever you may be in the world. Today, I want to talk about authentic alignment. I was just watching a show on Netflix. It's called The Push, and it was quite interesting. I don't oftentimes watch a lot of television, but one of my friends had actually brought this to my attention, and I thought, I'm going to check this out. And it's only about an hour long, but mentalist Darren Brown actually comes up with a social experiment demonstrating how manipulation can lead just a normal person into committing something outside of what they would do morally. And so the whole precipice of this show is that he conducts these different social experiments to see if people will follow the crowd or pave their own path. And so the beginning of the show, he's got actors lined up sitting in chairs, and every time he rings a bell, they will all stand up, and then when he rings the bell again, they all sit down. Well, he continues to introduce new people into the room that have no clue about the whole standing up or sitting down with the bell. But as time goes on, they begin to pick up on it, and then they begin to stand up and sit down every time the bell is rung. And so he eventually takes the actors out of the room, and everybody else who had no idea about the bell ringing actually continued to stand up and sit down. So it became a social norm or a social standard in order to fit in with a group. And I feel like this takes it all the way back to the beginning of humanity. You know, we have always wanted to be included, to fit in, and it takes it back to that survivalist aspect of ourselves, all the way back to the early Neanderthal caveman days, where if we weren't a part of the group, then we couldn't survive. If we were shunned or we were kicked out of the tribe, then we were absolutely on our own, and oftentimes we wouldn't survive that way. So in this social experiment, he actually takes it to a whole new level. He takes it to a place where throughout the process of the experiment, four different people are kind of pushed. That's what the show is about. Pushed in a way through peer pressure and through just self acceptance within the group to actually commit a crime at the end of the show. And so it's really interesting to watch it because you can kind of see what others would do, but then I kind of took it a bit further to reflect on myself and ask myself, what would I do in that situation, and how far would I go to take that push? So there's a kind of a sequence of pushes throughout the show that is kind of questioning people's morality in it. And you can definitely sense in the one man that they start pushing little things. He does it at first, and then he gets okay with it, and then he does the next thing, and then by the fourth or fifth thing that he's being pushed to do, you can obviously tell he's physically and emotionally, mentally uncomfortable with it, but yet he continues to move forward and do it. And so it's really eye opening. And I kind of wanted to use the example, and only because it's an easy example. I'm not doing it to fire anybody up, but the recent, pandemic that we've been going through, were there times when you felt as if you were pushed by your coworkers, by your family members, by those closest to you to do something that you didn't want to do? Maybe you were being pushed to wear a mask. Maybe you were being pushed to not wear a mask. Maybe you were being pushed to get a vaccine. Maybe you were being pushed not to get a vaccine. And then it takes it on to the next vaccine, and then to the booster. And then were you pushing back? Were you in a situation where you felt uncomfortable, whether you made that decision or not to mask up or to not, or to get vaccinated or not, either way, were you following your gut instinct? Were you actually standing up for your own true values and beliefs? Or were you just feeling like, oh, I'm going to go do this just because everyone else is, and or I'm going to not do this because everyone else is, or whatever your situation, may be? Were you actually making a decision based off of your own gut instinct and how you truly felt inside? And so when we tap into our authentic self, it's who we really are deep down inside. And, social conditioning will have us follow others because we want to feel accepted and we want to feel loved. And that could pull us back to some early childhood abandonment issues or rejection where maybe we didn't feel accepted or a part of the group or a part of the team. And, as we go through our childhood years and we're in the education system, and, that's when we're kind of learning how to fit into our little groups, and, and where we stand out the most. And I think that's where many of us, oftentimes may have followed the crowd. I know I've always been one to kind of buck the system and pave my own way. But with that said, I have not always done that. Specifically in my marriage, I felt like I was always being pressured to vote, one way or the other. And I wasn't always feeling settled with it. I was being pressured to be a part of this social group or a part of this religious activity or a part of whatever it may be. And I never really felt deep down in my gut that it was for me. I didn't really resonate with it. However, I continued to kind of go with the flow of it because I felt as if I didn't, I would have been outcast, or I would have been ridiculed or bullied, or felt as less than, than those in my peer group, or even within the family dynamic at that time. So ask yourself, have you gone through these things in your life? And are you actually standing in your truth in these certain situations? Or do you just feel like you're kind of backing down or giving in? Because this is really where the people pleasing aspect comes into play, specifically with empaths. We're really, really good people pleasers, right? We want to make everyone happy. And when we don't, oftentimes we feel sad or guilty or shameful or hurt or upset. But really, if we are people pleasing, we are pulling ourselves out of our own authentic alignment because we're oftentimes doing something for someone else or to fit in a group. And so we've got to ask ourselves, am I doing this because I want to fit in? Or am I doing this because I feel that it's right for me? I feel that it's in alignment for me. And if it doesn't feel right for me, then it's not in alignment. And so, oftentimes we'll get pressured to do things. And I think that this pandemic has brought up a lot of this energy, right? For us to really learn how to stand in our own authenticity and our own truth. And so I kind of have gotten to the point where, when those situations arise, I'll kind of just say to people, that doesn't feel right for me, but I'm really glad that it feels right for you. And that's awesome. That's awesome that you have found, your truth and that you found your authenticity. But that doesn't mean that I am in alignment with your truth, because my truth is not necessarily your truth, and vice versa. And so, when we get into that authentic self and who we really are deep down, that's the part of us that doesn't care what others think. And when we get to that point, oh, it's so freeing. It really is. And so when I was younger, I didn't give a squat about what anybody thought. But then once I got married, it was like, oh, I just felt like I had to be this perfect person. I had to fill into this kind of Stepford wife sort of role. And it was really pulling me out of alignment. I was more miserable during my marriage than I was in my entire life. And a lot of it didn't really have to do with my husband. It had more to do with I was being pulled out of alignment with my true self and my true identity. And so, learning how to be our authentic self is an essential part of building meaningful relationships, not only with others, but with ourselves as well. And so, many of us, when we are in relationships and then we get out of them, we don't even know who the heck we are anymore. We have completely lost our absolute identity. And I was, a culprit of this as well. I didn't even know who I was after I got out of that relationship, or out of other relationships too. And so, authenticity happens through our words, our actions, and our behaviors. And we need to have those consistently match who we are within, right? Consistently match our heart and our soul and how we feel and what we believe. And so, what are some ways that we can uh, step in to our authenticity? What are some ways that we can step into that confident self as to who we are, and align with that? And one of the best ways to do it is take some inventory. Take some personal inventory on when you feel the most authentic, right? So it's like, and I talk a lot about contrast, and I like Abraham Hicks. For those of you who aren't familiar, Abraham channels information from a higher source, and it comes through. And uh, uh, Esther Hicks talks a lot about contrast, and how, when we don't like something, it gives us an opportunity to find what it is that we do like. And we do that all through feeling how we feel, right? So when we feel like we're being authentic or we're being genuine, that resonates, right? So it resonates within you, and it resonates within those around you. They can sense that. We can all sense when someone is being authentic or being genuine. But when someone is not, someone doesn't feel that, you're just like, oh man, that just feels slimy. It just doesn't feel good. When someone is just trying to, pull the wool over your eyes or swindle you, or however you want to, call it. But it's when you're not aligning with your core values, and it seems like there's an ulterior motive behind what it is that you're seeking. So, we are moving more into an energy of following our hearts and being more authentic. And as empaths, we can definitely pick up on authenticity. I mean, I can smell it a mile away. If someone is reaching out to me and they have a genuine energy, oh, I just love that. But then I can definitely sense if someone is just, maybe it's someone I haven't talked to in a long time, and then now they're kind of coming back into the picture, and I'm picking up on, there's something else behind this. I'm not really sure that they're being genuine and that they want to make a genuine connection. I can sense that really easily. And I'm sure that many of you listeners can as well. And so, another way that we can step into our authenticity is by being in the now moment, being present. And, our ability to be present with ourselves, no matter what distractions or whatever else is going on around us, is essential to our own authenticity. And I think, that's where this pandemic came into play, because there was so much distraction and so much kind of both sides of the coin going on. No one could really tell what was true and what wasn't. And so many of us had to go within, right? Many of us did that. We were like, all right, I've got to just cut off all of the BS, all of the belief systems that are going on out there. And I need to go within, and I need to figure out and sort through what it is that I feel is my authentic truth. And so when we can kind of shut down that mental chatter and stop reacting to all of those external situations or influences going on, that's when we can actually tap in to that intuition and into our own inner voice. And oftentimes it can be really quiet, in there, especially if the distractions have been really loud and we've been so accustomed to listening to all of those distractions, our whole life. Then it can be kind of hard to sit there and listen to this little soft, subtle voice that is telling us, hey, this is what we should be doing, and so then we start to question it. Another way that we can tap into our authenticity is to speak our truth, and to do it assertively, not aggressively, but assertively. There is a difference between that. And, learning how to improve our communication can have a huge impact on living in alignment with our own authentic truth. And so, what we often want to say is, or often don't want to say is, things that will upset people, especially if we're in the people pleaser, energy. We might tend to be a little bit more passive in the way that we communicate, or a little bit more aggressive and domineering in the way that we communicate. It's one way or the other, and oftentimes we have to kind of figure out that perfect balance or that perfect harmony, to, okay, I've got to punch the gas here, and then I've got to kind of slowly put on the brakes here, and just kind of learn how to communicate in a way where you're speaking up for yourself, but you're not doing it in an over aggressive or domineering or controlling way. And so a lot of it is learning how to open up our throat chakra, and how to activate that inner voice in a way that we can stand up for ourselves, but not in a way that's harmful, to others, or sarcastic, or overly aggressive, or even dishonest, in those ways. And so, assertive communication is basically just expressing your needs honestly with confidence. It's keeping eye contact during the conversation, showing that you are in the present moment and in the now. It's being able to say no to things that you don't feel are in alignment with your authenticity. And it's really just listening to other people when they speak. So when we're talking about assertive communication, it's not just talking, it's actually listening as well. It's this beautiful kind of dance or beautiful harmony between speaking and listening. And so when we start to learn how to practice our own authentic style of communication, then we can express ourselves in ways that maybe we haven't been able to do before. And so it's really important for us to take daily action towards our authenticity, because it can feel really big, and like this huge kind of thing. It's like, oh, I've got to speak up for myself. This is giving me anxiety, and I don't know if I can do this. How is the other person going to respond? And what are people going to think of me? And I'm kind of more of a meek person, and I don't know if I can stand up for myself. And so it's really just learning that balance, and gaining that confidence and courage. But it could take little baby steps at first to start doing that. It's like, okay, I'm going to speak up a little bit here. I may not be ready for the big thing, but I'm going to speak up a little bit here and a little bit here. And I'm going to really start to get used to this, used to using my voice. Or if you're on the flip side, the domineering, aggressive type, you're gonna be like, all right, I'm just gonna listen a little bit more. I'm gonna kind of shut my mouth, and hey, this is me. This was me. It's like, oh, I gotta shut my mouth a little bit. I'm such a talker, and now I need to learn to listen. So it's really just tuning in to those subtle energies of when is it appropriate to talk, and when is it appropriate to listen. And I will bet that you, as you begin to practice this, you will begin to tap into some of your psychic abilities as well. I mean, when I started to listen more, my clairaudience started to pick up, because I was overcompensating with talking. And as I began to listen more, I began to hear more, and I began to hear more through subtle realms and different frequencies. And I'm like, whoa, they were there the whole time. I just was over talking them, and I wasn't allowing myself to listen. And so another way that we can be more authentic is to kind of take a step back from what's going on to gain some perspective. So if you feel like you're being distracted by a whole lot of external influences, take a step back and kind of gather yourself. Go within a little bit, maybe do some journaling, do some walking meditations in nature, sit with yourself in peace and quiet alone, see what thoughts are coming up. Ask yourself, ask your internal guidance system, what is it that I even believe? What is it? Where am I right now? There's all these things going on, or, outside of me, but how do I actually feel inside? What is it that I believe, and where is my authenticity? And so, when you are constantly focused on a problem, you can lose sight of who you are. And so oftentimes when we can take a step back, take a breather, and look at it from a more observatory standpoint than a participating standpoint, we can see the bigger picture, and we can remove ourselves from the situation altogether. And so that's really recognizing our internal truth versus our external influences. And that's a huge aspect here when it comes to tapping into our own authenticity, right? So when you want to know, who your authentic self is, it helps to be able to kind of separate, decouple, or differentiate your internal voice with your external voices of all that's going on around you. So our what drives us is our internal truth, our internal motivation is what really drives us. But if we feel very disconnected from our heart and from our soul, then we can continue to follow others, right? And we might be living a story that someone else has written that we are not in alignment with, that we aren't even resonating with. And, many of us have done this throughout our lives. It's like, and then finally we wake up one day and we're like, this is not the life that I want to live anymore. I want to align with who I am. I want to align with the things that feel good for me. I want to align with things that bring out creativity within me, that bring out joy, that bring out happiness. But for some reason, I got caught up in someone else's dream or someone else's life. And so, those external influences can, kind of push us to make decisions based on external factors, which could be a variety of things. It could be money, status, recognition. It could be, just being involved in a group, or just finding that we have all these expectations, that others we feel are putting on us, when really it's just us creating all these expectations that we think people are putting on to us. So it's like, when we're living authentic, we definitely are in alignment. We're tuned in to our heart, and we can put ourselves in these different situations or conversations or experiences that we love and that we enjoy. And when we do that, we will attract more of that into our life. We will actually attract more um, deeper, meaningful relationships and connections when we are being authentic. I mean, our energy gets so depleted when we are living out of alignment, when we are pretending to be someone else, or we are doing things um, based off of what those around us are telling us is right. And, so it's like you could have five people telling you to do one thing, but you're like, I'm not feeling that. I don't believe in that, or I don't want to do that. It doesn't feel right to me. However, the five people will kind of, might pressure you or make you feel like you are different, or that you are incorrect, or that, your belief system is wrong. And so many of us will conform to fit the group, to fit the needs of that group, out of fear, basically, of not belonging, right? And not being included. And so, but the reality is if you stand up for yourself and say, hey, I don't believe that truth for me. And that's awesome. I'm really glad that you guys believe that that's the truth for you. You might be surprised. There could be other people that say, hey, I believe what you believe. And that's my truth too. Hey, this is awesome. So then you find your tribe, right? And you don't feel so out of alignment or so disconnected because you were trying to fit in to something that was not in alignment with who you are and who you are meant to be. And so, it's really just understanding that when we live our authentic life, we are so much more happy, we are joyful, we are more relaxed, we feel more peaceful. And, we're just have higher self-esteem, right? We just feel more confident in who we are, and it just brings more satisfaction, into our life. And so it's really important that when we can get to the point of discovering uh, who our authentic self is, what our authentic truth is, we have an easier time of living in the flow as well. Because, creativity, prosperity, abundance, all of those things will come effortlessly when we are living from the heart, when we are living from our soul. And so when we're consistently living by our own morals and our own core values, it's going to naturally boost our confidence in who we are. And we have more trust, not only, with others, but also with ourselves. And we can overcome obstacles a lot easier in our life. And, just things will just come more naturally to us. And so it's really just learning how to be real and how to create genuine relationships externally and internally with our higher self, with our own internal guidance systems. So, uh, you know, this was just kind of on my mind today. I wanted to share this information. This is an area that I know that I have um, really been working on. There's been times, like I said, where I have struggled with this myself, but I have also been one who leads the pack. Oftentimes I've been one to kind of pave my own path. And there's been times when it's been easier and times when it hasn't been as easy. And so there's times when I've led and times when I've followed. And oftentimes it's really just getting to a point of, who gives a crap what others think, really? It's really, what your truth is what your truth is, and live and lead your own self based off of what your truth is. And it's okay to change your truth. One day you may be like, hey, this is my truth. And then, maybe you go to a retreat and you come home the next day and you're like, oh man, my truth just changed. That's okay. The only thing normal in life is change, right? The only thing constant is change. So, just give yourself permission to be able to change your truth. That's okay. That's called expanding your consciousness. And that's exactly where we're at, and that's exactly what my channel is all about is, I may be, I look back at some of my previous videos from a year or two ago and I'm like, whoa, I'm a lot different now than I was then. And that's okay because I have, really started to grow and expand and, just really find my own authenticity, my own genuine path. And so, my intention is that each and every one of you finds your own authenticity, your own truth, and your own genuine path too. And so, as always, I send each and every one of you so much happiness, joy, uplifting, positive healing, prosperous, abundant energy, whatever it may be. You fill in the blank. And I send it to all of you with so much love. Take care.
You deserve to navigate your life as an empath in alignment with health, happiness, and abundance. To learn more about the services that I provide, including Beyond Quantum Healing Hypnosis, EFT Tapping, and the Emotion Code, visit my website at www.thesoulcafe.org.